Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles. Good afternoon, Congressman. I don't know if you have a comment about the accusations that Nancy Mace is making. There's some that say that maybe there was a witness that said it was a handshake and nothing more, but that doesn't mean something didn't happen. Do you have any thoughts on this? Any information?
Well, obviously, this is something that we take very seriously. There should and will be a thorough review, and no member of Congress, or quite frankly, no one should feel afraid when they're in D.C. or on the Hill. And so, kind of at a macro point, or where you look at the city itself, D.C., they have home rule. They're doing a horrible job. Constitutionally, they should be under the jurisdiction of Congress, and I think that's something we should look at in the next Congress. But that being said, to Nancy Mace, if there was an assault, this individual should be charged, and there should be due process and adjudication as such.
Representative, kind of moving the topic a little bit, there's a lot of President Trump's nominees on Capitol Hill today. John Radcliffe, who's been appointed to serve as the head of the CIA, as well as Pete Hegseth, who's meeting with Susan Collins this afternoon about his nomination to be the Secretary of Defense. I was just wondering, what do you think about the president's nominations? What do you think about, Pete Hegseth in particular, who's gone under fire the past couple weeks, their chances of getting Senate confirmation?
Well, obviously, especially with Pete, it's going to be close, but I think he's, when people sit down with him, they hear his points of view, they understand where he's coming from. Look, we have agencies that have gone woke, that are corrupt, that have been weaponized against the American people. And when you have individuals like Pete Hegseth that really want to be change agents, that's a good thing. And it's not surprising that the bureaucracy is kind of lashing out in throws against Donald Trump, because they don't want change. They want the status quo. And so I look forward to Pete being confirmed. I reach out to him almost on a daily basis just to give him words of encouragement. But I think the President Trump's picks have been fantastic. I think he's doing a great job. And so whether it's Kash Patel or Pete Hegseth or any of the others, if you go down the list, I think that ultimately they'll be confirmed once they have their process before the Senate.
Well, I don't have to tell you, as somebody that works on the Hill, that the members of the Senate, obviously, they don't like to be a rubber stamp. Advise and consent, I'm sure they take very seriously. That's the process that Hegseth and others will have to go through. But Jen Psaki is arguing that there are GOP senators that are in quiet defiance of Mr. Trump, trying to slow down his nominees. Listen to what she had to say.
Republican senators, not a lot of them, but enough of them are doing what I'm going to call quiet defiance, because basically they're not coming out publicly saying they're opposing nominees like Matt Gaetz or Pete Hegseth, which most are quiet about. Joni Ernst probably came the closest. But behind the scenes, what's clear is they are making clear to Trump's team they are not going to support this guy.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, I don't really listen to her that often, but that being said, I think you have a few senators that want to have a very thorough confirmation process. That is what our founders set up, that's the process in place, and I don't blame them from that. But I think what is due to them is a fair hearing as they proceed. And, Pete has been very diligent. He's been working hard. And again, when you have kind of anonymous allegations against someone, like, how do you defend that? And so he has a right to be heard before the Senate. And again, I support him 110%. He's going to be a change agent. You have a Department of Defense that needs change, needs upheaval, and he's the individual to do that. I think he's the man for the job. And I think ultimately, again, it may be close. I think that the Senate will confirm him, and quite frankly, all of President Trump's nominations, again, after thorough hearings as we go forward.
Congressman, we are just hearing, and this is breaking news, according to multiple reports, that Christopher Wray, the current FBI director, is planning on resigning. We know that President Trump nominated Kash Patel to lead the FBI. There was questions over whether Christopher Wray was waiting to be fired by the president-elect or is going to resign, and the reports are that he is going to resign. Your reaction to those breaking reports?
We've been hearing that for a few days, and I think that makes sense for him to leave on his own terms versus being fired by the president. That's the more graceful exit. I think the president has made it clear that he intends to change who's at the helm of the agency, Kash Patel. Again, when you look at those individuals that have already come out in support of him, he has the votes to be confirmed, and so that change is coming. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and yes, it's the Trump train, and he's going to change out that agency. So again, I think Kash is going to be a change agent. And which is good. You've seen the weaponization of the justice system against the president, against the American people, and that has to stop. Justice has to be blind, and we have to restore faith in the process. And right now, that faith doesn't exist, and which is, I think, again, as you go forward into Trump's administration in his first term, I think immediately he's going to look at pardoning some of the J6ers, if not all of them. But as we go forward, again, we have to restore faith in the justice system, and having a Pete Hegseth, to having a Kash Patel, going down the laundry list of individuals who are truly there to serve the American people, not their own agenda, not a political agenda, but to serve the American people. And what's great about Pete and Kash is they both know the president, they communicate with the president, they understand the president, and I think as we go forward, that'll be important.
Yeah, Christopher Wray, by the way, appointed by then President Trump, but under a lot of pressure to step down. Before we get off Pete Hegseth, I did want to point out that there were dozens of veterans who served with him who've signed a letter backing him for defense secretary. I believe we have that. If we can take a look at that, if we can bring that up, a full screen here. We come from all ranks and different experiences, they say, but have one core thing in common. We fully support Pete Hegseth's nomination to be the next Secretary of Defense, and that's a letter that they provided. So we'll move on from that topic, but I just wanted to get that other side out. While there are plenty who are criticizing him, he also has a lot of very vocal support, and that's part of what is pushing forward his nomination, Congressman.
That's right.
I did want to, before we go, to ask you about this green energy standards that the House reportedly, obviously led by Republicans, are trying to challenge the Biden green energy standards for washing machines. Now, this sounds rather pedestrian, but it makes a point. So please address that, if you will.
Well, again, everything is in context. We have an open border. We have terrorists that are literally walking across our southern border. We know we have terrorists in this country. We're seeking them out. We're trying to find them. You've got crime rampant across the country. Inflation's out of control. I mean, this was a pocketbook election, and the American people spoke. But instead of addressing those issues, what is the Biden administration doing? They're going after your stove. They're going after your washing machine. They're going after your water heater. And so it's absurd. And again, this is why the Biden administration was handed such a resounding defeat, is because their policies are woke, they're misaligned, and they overplayed their hand in pushing their woke agenda. And again, the American people spoke. Look, going into election night, I was cautiously optimistic we were going to win. But when President Trump swept all of the battleground states, not only did he win the Electoral College, but he won the popular vote, it was a mandate that enough is enough. And so the fact that when all of this stuff is going on, you've got drones off the East Coast, you've got bad actors in Iran, and it just, again, the list goes on and on and on. What is the Biden administration focused on? Your washing machine. It's ridiculous. I can't wait till January 3rd. Look, we have kids. I don't want to wish away Christmas, but January 3rd and the January 20th cannot get here soon enough.
Well, you can go back to Tennessee where things make sense. I lived there for 11 years. And
God bless Tennessee.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Congressman. Appreciate you being with us.
Thank you so much.